So it has been wild times when it comes to Black Ops 6. The launch was immense, and then after that, Season 1 came out and we started to drop off with Warzone, and since then the community has been up in arms about quite literally almost everything. So I don't even know where to say, what to say, how things are going with Call of Duty right now, but this is what I will say. JGod has a video up that says we need to talk about Call of Duty, and I don't know the direction that this one is going to go. We watched his last video where he was talking about what happened to Warzone after the launch of Season 2, and I don't know where this one's going, but I want to hear it, so let's watch this one together.
With yesterday's video, I thought it was worth having a little bit of a chat, a little bit calmer. Obviously,
you know, things happen, you get mad, you say things, you take a breath, you cool down, you talk about it.
That video was a little bit more of a crash out after playing for 12 hours, running into multiple issues, and kind of going through a bunch of stuff. But I want to give out a few different ideas to talk about kind of like the state of the game and kind of the direction of the game and kind of what the cadence is going to be of videos, because there's a lot of issues that it comes out. Obviously, we're primarily a Warzone channel. Even though people say, oh, it's a Call of Duty channel, we don't really cover
I would say that's pretty true for JGod. He's like almost like, if you go watch his videos, almost everything is about Warzone. And it wasn't always that way for him, but he's definitely arched his channel in that way.
Multiplayer, other than
and that's the thing that is hurting in Call of Duty the most right now.
Maybe when the game first drops. Zombies we don't really touch much on, even though I do stream quite a bit of zombies and probably have more playtime in zombies than multiplayer and Warzone combined this year. I would almost bet on it. But regardless of that, our content, that's not why people come here. I post a zombies video. You guys don't care. You guys are here for Warzone, and that's fair. But that also means I have a responsibility to cover the state of the game and at least kind of where it's at, regardless if it's good or bad. In a perfect world, there wouldn't be.
So this is the one criticism I get all the time is I cover the game whether it's good or bad at that time. Like that is what I've done for a very long time, and people get mad at me when I only say good things or I only say bad things. Either way. So I try to have this like middle ground of just being honest as to what is going on in the community. And I feel like JGod does a pretty decent job of that as well.
Be certain issues and I'd be able to just gas up the game. And as people say in the comments, even in the last video, which was essentially just bashing all the issues, which are unacceptable. People were like, oh, you're just glazing the game. I'm like, bro,
did you watch the video?
About? Like, I don't even know if they're just doing it to troll at this point, because there's no way your brain can function and think I've been glazing the game for two or 3 years. It's had consistent issues since Warzone 2. I think there was a bit of a recovery in Warzone 3 or MW3's life cycle. The game, I think, was pretty well supported in multiplayer and Warzone overall, and it kind of got dialed in. And then some changes happened with this integration, and it seemed like multiplayer is doing well. There are some obviously issues that.
After I've played multiplayer a little bit more with Season 2, I think they have a lot of the gameplay of multiplayer dialed in, with the exception of packet burst, server issues, and then lack of game modes, lack of diversity in game modes. Like I would love to see more things like gunfight tournaments and things like that. But compared to Warzone, it is night and day.
That, you know, you can be covered, but it's way more minimal. I know Exclusive Ace does a pretty good job of covering the multiplayer stuff. And then zombies, they get a new map for basically every season, and that's kind of enough. But when it comes to Warzone, there's different expectations with it being a free-to-play game, and the cadence of the updates and the way things should work. And
we've talked about this a lot recently, and it's actually going to be, I'm going to be talking about it, I think, this week on the main channel. If we look back at Modern Warfare 2019, that game had updates every single week. Every single Thursday, there was an update which fixed bugs, which added things to the game, which updated playlists every single Thursday. Didn't matter whether it was a new season, a season reloaded. It didn't matter. It was constant. And every second week, we got intel in Warzone. Always stuff being added in. They don't do that now. They do not do that now.
There's a little bit of a fatigue that happens from year after year. And this is kind of what we've experienced, because every integration, there's been hiccups. And it's sad that we expect there to be hiccups. Even with Verdansk 84, there were some issues that ended up getting settled pretty quickly. I remember you couldn't reload with any of the Cold War guns, and there was other bugs that happened. It's not like
it happens all the time. It's
the game's nostalgia, rose-tinted glasses, that those things didn't exist then. It's just that they did exist then, And then they existed again when Warzone 2 happened, and then it existed again when Warzone MW3 happened. It's kind of like there's a fatiguing factor where it's like, when is enough enough? Like, I know if I had worked at the studio.
When does the game actually work? Like, that is the real question. When can we actually just play the game?
I'm sure the devs, there's a certain level of embarrassment that comes with that, because based off what I've been told is there's like a different version of the game that they build off of that's not necessarily linked. So when it copies over, it creates issues, unexpected, but it is what it is. End of the day, they shouldn't happen for as big as the company is. And, hopefully they're able to get the resources they can, which I don't know if that's the case, because you look at the charts, you look at Steam, it looks like the game is dead as can be dead. But then you look at
console and PC are very, 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 very different worlds. Like, just look at the amount of players constantly playing Counter-Strike. It's a different world. It's almost not even comparable to console.
At PlayStation and Xbox, it's the #1 selling game all year, every year, all month, every month, at least until GTA comes out, and then that'll be the game of the year forever. Because they've been working on it for like 2 decades or however long they've been working on that. But regardless of all that, I think the spirit of the content is that we all want the game to be better. Obviously, there's certain frustrations that happen and build up over time. I know you as players, a lot of you do not play other games, and that's...
Call of Duty is an interesting world when it comes to that. A lot of, I would say a good chunk of the player base doesn't go and play. I would say half. I would say... Actually, I want to hear, if you're watching this video, do you play are you just Call of Duty, or do you mix in some other games? And if so, what games? Because I basically have one video a day on this channel about Call of Duty, and then one video a day about some sort of other games, because I am interested in other things in the gaming industry. And lately, we've been doing pretty good on the other games on this channel, and I'm curious, this channel would probably skew a little bit differently than just Ink Slasher. But I'm curious, if you're a Call of Duty player, like a diehard Call of Duty player, do you touch grass? No. Do you touch other games?
A little bit unfortunate because there are a lot of good games out there. Me, this year, I've already played multiple games. We played a little bit of Path of Exile 2. We beat Slay the Spire. The Indiana Jones, I didn't really vibe with it that much, but I did play the new one. It was on Game Pass. So
I liked Indiana Jones.
You get a bunch of free games that way. And then I'm currently about halfway through Dark Souls 1. So there's a lot of other games to play. And that's not even the ones that are multiplayer that I'm just not interested in. I'm not interested in Delta Force. I'm not interested in Marvel Rivals. I'm not interested in Fortnite. There's a bunch of other games that you could play depending on your interests. But regardless, you're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't when it comes to being a content creator. If I complain about any...
This is exactly how this is why I don't cover updates on the main channel anymore. Listen to this.
Anything, it's like, oh, bro, you're just hating. If I say anything positive, then it's like, bro, you're just glazing, you're gassing how much they're paying you. And this was very evident if you go look at the Jack Frags video that I reacted to. I don't really react to other people's videos too much on this channel. The second channel went through a stretch with that. But for our channel, all it came down to is I don't really do that often. So when I did it, I started the video, and I disagree with Jack Frags on Omni Movement. I like it. I know there's a bunch of people that like it, but I also know there's a bunch of people that hate it. And it's more of a settings issue, which that's on the devs for not making the settings better, because you shouldn't accidentally dive, which is the biggest complaint that people had. But people said just because I like it that I'm paid by... No, I like Omni Movement. I like the MW3 movement.
Okay, I like Drifter, but I have to point this out. He said, not that I'm paid by Activision. All of his videos, he hashtags COD partner in them. I don't know why. I've gone to many events. I've never got paid by them. I don't know if it's because he's gotten paid by them. I don't know. But every single one of his videos has it in there. I just wanted to point that out.
And I've liked movements prior. It's just kind of how it goes. But regardless of all that, there are other things that are issues. And there's other things that are probably issues, but I don't really care about. Like, if you equip a bundle, if you buy a blueprint and then you equip it in the store, and then you build your own class and you go into the game, it actually costs more from the buy station. It costs like double or whatever the case is. Instead of 2,500, you get 6,000. So you kind of pay to lose. And for me, it's like I don't use them, so I don't really care. But it's still a problem, right? Like there's multiple other issues that you could agree to disagree on. You don't think that ghosts should work while moving, or you don't think that heartbeat sensors.
This is one thing that I've always said, is that there will never, ever, 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 ever be a perfect Call of Duty game. Because one thing that I like Black Ops 3 movement. I like wall runs. I like boost jumps. I find it adds a lot to the game. I like specialist abilities. Black Ops 3 is one of my favorite Call of Duty games for many of those reasons. But guess what? A lot of people freaking hate that. So how do you appease both people? How do you appease someone that likes the tactical, more style gameplay of Modern Warfare in 2019, yet I like this like hero style shooter of Black Ops 3? Call of Duty has done so much at this point that you're never going to have this perfect game. And it's like Modern Warfare 2019 was catching lightning in a bottle, because I think because everyone was stuck at home and they were on a new engine and it felt new, even though I didn't like that style of gameplay, it was new enough that I was like, okay, this is cool. But it should be
a field
impossible.
upgrade instead of that. You don't like the satchels. Maybe you love the satchels. End of the day, there's a lot of the baseline stuff that I could jump on the game like I did today and play it. And I played for about an hour and I was having fun. But in my first match, I run into an issue where after the update, it's in the patch, it says, hey, we're going to fix this issue, this bug, where that if you pick up a gun, you won't lose your gun or whatever the case is. I go and I'm trying to pick up a field upgrade.
I know what he's going to go
And
with
then when
this.
I go and grab it, I lose my gun.
And
this was my first match. And then I went on to play about 4 or 5 other matches. And
like, what the hell?
I didn't run into any other bugs. So I was having fun. I did have a blender game, which is pretty normal on Rebirth. You kind of just get kind of caught in the blender if your teammates aren't shooting. And you're playing with random, so you can't really expect much.
So like, I think where he's going with this is that like they say they fix these things and then they're never actually fixed.
But at the end of the day, I was having fun. But that bug was like something I had to run into. If maybe that match didn't happen and then I had 4, then I'd be like, man, there's no issues. And I'm sure there's a lot of you out there where you're like, man, I'm not running into these issues that everyone's running into.
He's right here.
But the sample size of a lot of people is going to be able to find these issues. And I think the game
Okay, it's analogy time. You go out for dinner and you're having a great dinner. And you go to your favorite steakhouse. It's around the corner from your house, and you get the same thing every single time you go there. You go there, you get an appetizer. This is just what I get at a steakhouse, if I'm being honest with you. You get bacon wrapped scallops, and you get a nice beer for your appetizer. You have the beer, you have the appetizer. It's delectable. And then you order the same thing, a filet mignon with garlic mashed potatoes and broccoli on the side. You get that with a nice glass of wine. The glass of wine is delicious. The steak is cooked perfectly, but then in your mashed potatoes, there's a hair. Not just one hair, 3 hairs. They're long hairs. You know they're from the kitchen, and your meal is ruined. You go there almost every month. You go there every month for date night, and it's always good, but this time there was a hair in it. Guess what time is going to stand out in your head? It is going to be that time that you took a bite out of hair out of your mashed potatoes, and that's what you're going to tell people about. So even though these bugs are not happening all the time, they're important and they matter and they ruin games, and that is what sticks out in your head. That is the problem. Yeah, it may not be happening every game. It may be 1 in 5 games, but when it's frequent enough, eventually that's all people will talk about in your restaurant is the hair that's been in like 7 people's food, even though there's been 700 people there. See the analogy? See where I'm getting at? If you have bugs sometimes, it hits a tipping point where there's too much. And because every time there's an update, some of the bugs that they say are fixed aren't fixed, and some new bugs are added in. There's too many of these things. Even though there's this much good, there's this much bad. And it turns out that this much bad is worse than this much good. I think I made sense of that. I think.
Overall, like, if it worked, and there weren't any bugs, and there weren't any crashes, and there weren't any ricochet, anti-cheat issues, the game's pretty good. Like, the Warzone version, maybe it's not as good as the nostalgia version because you want your vehicles and whatever, and it could be better. But overall, it would be good because I jump on and have fun and I can play.
Here's another question for you for the comments. If it were good, if there was decent servers, no ricochet, and bugs were minimal, there's always going to be bugs, but bugs were minimal. With the lack of new content that's been added, would you still be playing? Or would you need like a new map, a new something, or like, it's a good question.
But I run into an issue and I'm like, I'm going to go jump on Dark Souls and go finish my run through over there. So It's not perfect, and it never will be perfect. And most games aren't perfect because they can always be improved on if you're really nitpicking. But these aren't even to the point where they need to be nitpicked. These are like just blatant issues where if I'm playing a game, you lose your gun, like that's kind of like a big deal. I might as well back out, close the game, uninstall, right? And people are like, well, why do you post content and blah, blah, blah? I'm like, we built kind of a community for several different ways, even before.
People just don't get this because you got to remember, like, I would say probably half of the people that watch my videos, maybe around there, are just new to that video, right? Like half of the people, are part of this community. And those aren't the people that comment, oh, why are you still talking about the game? Right? The people that are in this community know what's going on. They know why I'm talking about these things. And like still, like it's like between 90 and 95% like to dislike on those videos that people are complaining about. But it's just like you see it over and over again. Why are you talking about this? Why are you supporting the game? Like we have a community based off of this. But
Warzone came out, we did informative news, loadout, all those types of things, tips, tricks, tutorial, whatever. And then we were already over 100,000 subs, and Warzone came out, COVID. There was a pop off. There was a niche, and I felt that hole of a lot of people that watch the content. And regardless if you like me or my opinions, you're here for whatever reason. I don't know why. If you don't like me and you're here, then you still for some reason want to know what I have to say. I don't know what to tell you, bro. Quit hate watching. Like,
and I think like a lot of people, like they're involved in this community, and even if you've like jumped off of Call of Duty for a while, you still want to know, like, should I come back? Like, what's going on with that?
Like, there's other people that cover news too. It's okay. And one of the
great example I can give you with this is back in the day, I used to play StarCraft 2. I haven't played StarCraft 2 in like 15 years. Around there. Every once in a while, you just like check out what's going on. That game's like as close to dead as dead can be. But every once in a while, watch a competitive game. Go look at like some old Day 9 content. You may not even know who that is, but you're still
the main sources for information, news, updates, kind of the state of the game, and loadout stuff. When they actually do update the weapons, we can cover that stuff. Obviously, we don't have anything right now because they didn't really change much. And based off a couple tweets from Raven, it sounds like they're going to be handling more information now, handle a little bit more transparency. I don't know.
You know how many times they've said this, that, oh, Raven's on it. They're going to be the ones dealing with all of the Warzone stuff from now on. Nope. Guess what? 2 years from now, freaking Infinity Ward's going to bash their head through that wall and say, oh yeah, it's our time to shine.
Regardless, they said they're buffing the PPSH and they're nerfing the XM4.
That did happen.
And I'd rather save a loadout video for them. Instead of posting a video now, 3 days, they change it, and then I got to do another one. Doesn't really make much sense. I'll just give you a good one when it's time to be done. But regardless, there's a lot of people that watch this channel that haven't played the game in 3 months, 6 months, a year. And they check out the videos. And I'm sure you're in the comment section. You'll say, yeah, that's me. But realistically, there are people that watch the channel and they do not play the game. And they like what I have to say, or they're trying to just stay up to date, because when I give that video that says Warzone is back, which hopefully I'll be able to do at some point, maybe not. But if I do that video, they will go, all right, I'm going to go check it out and I'm going to play it, and I hope I have fun. And if I have fun, and then I'm going to invite my friends, and then hopefully they have fun, and then we're playing again.
I think the biggest thing with Call of Duty is word of mouth. Like when you go to your friends and you're like, you got to check this out, and then they do. I think that's the biggest thing with Call of Duty.
I mean, the party feature's all busted right now, and a lot of those issues. So it's like,
word of mouth,
even those types of things are holding people back from being able to be encouraged to just stay on the game because their friends are on. There's a lot of those things where it's not like I'm going to just stop making content because the game's bad. Like, what? Like, oh, you should just go play. I'm playing plenty of other games. And even back during peak Verdansk, I wasn't no life in the game. I would spend 7-8 hours testing in Plunder. Now, luckily, there's a lot of in-game data. There's True Game Data's website, plus there's data mining with sim.gg. So it's simplified that part. So instead of me 8 hours in Plunder and then, not even maybe jumping on to play the game, now I'm actually probably playing a little bit more than I would then if you actually count the playtime, because I jump on and I don't have to test anything. I just jump on and I'm like, cool. I get to experience the game for what it is. It's an unfortunate situation to be in as a creator. Yeah. I think it's an unfortunate situation to be in as a viewer.
But like you see this all the time, even out of Call of Duty. The one community that I've seen this a lot out of is Destiny. Right? Destiny has gone on huge ebbs and flows, and you have creators who you got to be honest. You got to be true to what you think about the game. And like, if you're not enjoying it, say why. And maybe it gets better. Maybe it doesn't. But if you're a part of that community, it's something that you've created. And I agree with what you're saying
I
here.
think regardless if you play the game or not, it is a problem. So regardless of why you watch this video, if you made it to this point, I appreciate you. Thank you for watching. As always, have a great day.
I am
Celebrities and
very, very, very curious as to this next season of Call of Duty. What happens with it? What people are going to be playing throughout this time? If somehow they are able to capture the audience throughout the next season, and what happens to the player numbers? I wish we could see the console player numbers, but like I've been saying over the past, I feel like multiplayer is kind of steadied out. I feel like after the Tomb release, once you've beaten that, I feel like Zombies community is kind of slowing down with ebbs and flows. And Warzone is just waiting on something, just waiting. And until that comes out, I think Warzone is going to be pretty stagnant and pretty dead until Verdansk Season 3 at least. So I don't know. We're in an interesting times. And like I said, in the comments, let me know what you're playing. Are you playing something different? Are you playing Warzone? Let me know your thoughts.